Alright, so we are on video notes for section 10.4 and 10.5, day 1. We're going to be talking about tangent, sine, and cosine ratios. Tangent, sine, and cosine are three trig functions, three functions from trigonometry. Again, the way you pronounce these are tangent, sine, and cosine. What these can tell us is that given any right triangle, regardless of whether it is a special 45-45 or 30-60-90 triangle, we can find a missing side or a missing angle. So given angle A, if you look at the picture to the right, I'm calling this angle A, so it's degrees of capital A. The leg that is opposite that angle is the one across from it. It doesn't share the sides of the angle. So in this case, small lowercase a is opposite of angle A. The leg, the shorter side of the triangle that is touching the angle, we call adjacent. It is next to it. And C, as always, is our hypotenuse. So given either angle A or angle B here, we can determine which leg is adjacent, which leg is opposite, and which is the hypotenuse. So look at the word to the right, this funky word. Whatever you need to do to make it stand out as important, do that now. I'm going to highlight all around the box. If you need to star it, whatever, this is critically important. You need to memorize this phrase. It's called SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. So what does this mean? Go down to the next box. SOHCAHTOA, it's an abbreviation. It stands for sine. That's where our S comes from. We abbreviate sine, S-I-N. Cosine is the C. We abbreviate cosine, C-O-S. And tangent is where we get the T, and we abbreviate tangent, just T-A-N, tan. So we have sine, cosine, and tangent. And then those other letters represent sides of the triangle. So what this tells us is that if we take the sine of angle A, so this angle here, that is equal to the ratio of the leg that's opposite of angle A over the leg, or over the hypotenuse. So here we get SO, S-O-H. So stands for sine of A equals opposite over hypotenuse. C stands for the cosine of angle A is equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So this is where we get C, C-A-H. And then TOA comes from tangent of A equals O, opposite, over adjacent. So SOHCAHTOA. Using one of these three ratios, we can find the measure of the angle or the length of a missing side. So let's look at example 1. It asks us to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of R. So remember that word we're supposed to remember, write it on the top. It's SOHCAHTOA. So to find sine of R, we're going to take the opposite side and the hypotenuse. If we look here at angle R, the side that is opposite is 4, and the hypotenuse is 8. So the sine of R is equal to 4 over 8, which reduces to 1 over 2. The cosine of R is equal to adjacent side length over the hypotenuse. This is where we get C-A-H. The adjacent side to angle R, the one that's next to it, it's sharing part of the angle, is 4 root 3. And the hypotenuse again is 8. We can still reduce the numbers here, 4 over 8, to get just a final cosine of root 3 over 2. And to find the tangent, again we take the opposite side, divide that by the adjacent side. So in this case, opposite of R we said was 4, and adjacent to R is 4 over root 3. So we'll get 4 over 4 root 3. We can simplify by crossing out the 4 on the top and bottom, and we'll be left with 1 over root 3. as the tangent of r. So all of these functions are telling us is how we can set up a ratio of the sides of the triangle in comparison to the angle. Let's look at example 2. So find the sine of b, the cosine of b, and the tangent of b. Write as a fraction and as a decimal to the nearest tenth. So we need to have two answers for each of these. So to find the sine of b, here's angle b. This sine I'm going to find by taking opposite over hypotenuse, which in this case the opposite side is 4 and the hypotenuse is 5. So here's my answer as a fraction. In order to get a decimal, I plug into my calculator 4 divided by 5, which gives me the fraction 0.8. To find the cosine of angle B, I take the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Adjacent just means next to, so the side next to angle B is 3 over the hypotenuse, which is 5. So there's my fraction. Again, to get a decimal, I type in 3 divided by 5, which gives me the decimal 0.6. Last, to find the tangent, I take the opposite side over the adjacent side. The opposite side of angle B, across from it is 4, and the adjacent side next to it is 3. So here's my fraction, 4 over 3. I plug in 4 divided by 3 to get my decimal, which is 1.33333 repeating. So to round this to the nearest tenth, I want to look at my tens place and the one after. Because it's a 3 after my 10, I'm not going to round up, so my decimal will just be 1.3. Alright, you are responsible for checkpoints numbers 1 through 4. Remember, it asks you to write your fraction or write your answer in a simplified fraction. You do not need to do these as a decimal.